Hi, I'm Tommy from Jukebox The Ghost. I sing sometimes, I play guitar, I play bass. Let's talk gear. My main axe is this Gibson. It's this weird reissue from a while back. It's sunburst, got those mini humbuckers, which I like because it's kind of somewhere between like a single coil and a humbucker, and it's really bright and present. I'm kind of a one guitar guy, so this is the electric guitar that I use for everything, the entire set. The only downside of that is that I generally have to restring every night or every other night because I'm always using it. And Gibsons, as you know, great guitars, but the G string always goes out of tune. It's just like a Gibson thing. Haven't figured out how to solve it. No one's been able to help me. Oh, I have a sponsorship with GHS, so I use GHS strings. The only thing that's funny about this guitar, I'm glad I snatched it when I did because I love the look of it, and I've never seen another SG like it. But I can see why they took it off the market really quickly because it had a lot of electronics problems. I had to get it fixed like 4 or 5 times before someone finally figured out what was wrong. There's just some weird wiring stuff in the back because everything's crammed so close together. But now it plays like a charm, and it's my favorite looking guitar in the world. So this is my acoustic electric that I play. It's a Breedlove. Honestly, I don't have a lot of brand loyalty here. I think we were broke like 5 years ago, and this was the cheapest one we could get at a Guitar Center. But it sounds pretty good, I think. This guitar is my backup, but I used it a lot for the our Halloween shows. We did a series of shows in Boston and New York where we dressed up as Queen and played a whole set of Queen covers in costume. And this guitar kind of has that Brian May thing going on a little bit. PRS was really nice, and they actually gave me this for free, and I was really excited to get it right before those Halloween shows. Pedal board. I'm not like a big pedal geek or gear geek in general, as you can probably tell, because it looks kind of messy. But yeah, here's my tuner. Holy Grail reverb, can't go wrong with those. I have this weird phaser pedal that I picked up recently that to replace my MXR, but it's got a lot of options, and I'm still kind of figuring it out, and it's been a while. So maybe ask me in 3 years and I'll understand fully how to use this thing. Next in the chain, we've got my Digitech Whammy. I use that all the time because, as you know, Jukebox The Ghost, we have bass on some songs, but some songs it's just guitar, piano, and drums, and the lower octave setting can be really helpful. This is my new toy, and I love this pedal so much. It's a JHS double barrel. I keep this. It has 2 gain stages, so I keep this one all the time. And it's sort of like a TS9 Tube Screamer kind of sound, but a little bit more beef and a little bit more low end. And then this one I punch on for solos. I've been looking for years for a pedal that could just be like my be-all, end-all for tone, and I finally found it. Love this pedal. The Barber Tone Press. These 2 pedals are probably the main. Like if you were to pigeonhole my tone, it would be these 2 pedals. If I had to fly with just 2 pedals, these 2. The Barber Tone Press I have on all the time as just a clean gain boost. I know you're not supposed to have a compressor after your gain. I like the way it kind of rounds off the gain a little bit. So, and this one has a blend switch, so you can parallel compress your signal, which I really enjoy. Here's my delay pedal. Nothing special about that. Tremolo, nothing special, but I like it. Okay, so this is my bass. I love the violin Paul McCartney style bass, and I used to have a Hofner, but I actually found that this cheap knockoff of a Hofner called Rogue, even though it's like $200 from Musician's Friend, I think it sounds better. It's got more low end. Maybe doesn't have the traditional Hofner sound, but for our purposes, it works great. This is my amplifier. I'm a Fender Twin guy just because they're, simple, clean. I get most of my gain staging from the pedals anyways, so I keep the volume at like a 2. So I'm really not using this thing for how it's intended to be used, but it's a solid amp. And if you're flying somewhere, sometimes they don't have the amp you're looking for. They always have a Fender Twin, so that's why I picked the Fender Twin.
Hey, my name is Jesse. I play the drums in Jukebox The Ghost. I'm going to show you some of my stuff. First of all, this is my latest kit, my latest purchase. I bought this drum kit off a fan of the band, a younger fan who loves vintage drums, and I knew he had it, and then he told me one day he was selling it. And I said, no, you're selling it to me. But it's a 1968 Rogers, 60s Rogers Holiday from Dayton, Ohio, and these are really cool. Like, sound guys love these drums for whatever reason. When they see them, they're like, yo, is that a Rogers? This is a 60s Gretsch snare drum. I think it's chrome over brass, COB it's called, but I like it. I feel like it has this kind of dead sound to it with die-cast tubes. Down here, I'm really dorky about this beater, this kick pedal beater. It's a Danmar Zorro, and to me it's perfect balance between, you know, the soft warmth of a felt beater and still a lot of attack. There's a lot of surface area on there. This right here is called a swirly gig, and that holds my my liquid beverage of choice. Got an SPDSX, so I use that to trigger samples, and we don't really play to a lot of tracks or anything like that. So on here, I have a whole lot of sounds. Our last record, we just got pretty experimental and had lots of different stuff to put on there and play with. For this, there were some songs that I might just have one sound on there, a snap or a clap. But there are others, our song Postcard, I think I actually use every single pad on here. There's a few that I actually will do melodies. This song Long Way Home has a descending mellotron flute melody. And I play it like this. You're not getting sound right now, but I go, and it's just a descending melody that I play because it's not guitar or piano. So that's kind of cool. And then actually, I never really see drummers do this, but I guess I'm weird enough or amateur enough to do it. That right there is a foot switch, mostly used for guitar players, I think, to switch between channels on their amp or something. And I use it to trigger 808 kick drum. So I'll actually go between that and the actual kick drum instead of using one of those clip-on triggers. So for sizes, I like pretty standard sizes. Kick drum is 22 by 18. Floor tom 16 by 16. Rack tom 13 by 9. Those are pretty standard sizes. They're not huge and they're not small. They're just the right size for a classic 60s drum kit. And then for snare drum, I have two different snare drums I like. And one is a Ludwig Black Beauty. That's my backup snare drum, which I keep there. I call it rocking responsibly, but you gotta have a backup snare, kick pedal, and clutch. A little hi-hat clutch. Because if one of those breaks, you can't play. So my other snare drum is a little deeper, and I started preferring the shallower ones. But I think they're both great. I used to only play wood snare drums, and a couple years back I just made the switch. I thought that the metal snare drum is what our music really needed. It's just our music's a little busy and you can't always rely on a fat, warm, interesting snare. I think sometimes you need something more bright and practical. So for cymbals, I've always played Zildjian. This is a beautiful cymbal. This K Constantinople, it has great feel. You can see right there that I took a nice chunk out of it. But Zildjian has a 2-year warranty, and so as long as I break it within 2 years, I can just get another one. Another little hybrid one. This one's pretty cool, but I'm looking forward to it breaking so that I can... This is really a rotating cast, whatever I use for a crash. Whereas I always use this ride. And then these hats are, these are actually Frankenstein 16-inch, I guess they're crashes, they're little crashes, 16-inch crashes. I use them as hi-hats, and I like them a lot. So we have 16, 19, and 22. Nice pork pie drum throne, keep me nice and cozy up here. Stroke my ego with comfort. I'm a plain Jane with sticks. I've always played 5A, and I probably always will. 5A. It's probably the first size I ever played with, and just keep going.
Hey, I'm Ben. This is my keyboard rig. It's a little discombobulated at the moment, but it's a Kurzweil SP48. I've been only using Kurzweil for 8-9 years at this point, just because it has a great piano sound, has good feel, and that's it. I mean, I don't need anything terribly fancy with this except for something that feels good under my fingers and sounds really good. And especially since we don't have like a designated bass player, a lot of times I need to carry the low end with my left hand, and this keyboard can sort of handle that, which is great. I don't change effects internally or anything else the entire time. I treat it like a piano. It's an instrument that, I grew up playing piano as a classical pianist. That's what I would ideally have on stage. And so I'm not using sound manipulation or reverb changes or anything else like that. Certain songs, if there's no bass, I'll aim heavier, or if I'm doing solo pieces, I can afford to be up in this register because it, I don't need to fill up the entire room with what I'm doing. On one tune, I use a Rhodes sound within it, which it's off right now, but just use another preset. Just basic little bit of natural distortion, and it sounds pretty good. This is an Ovation. I use it just as a MIDI controller. So I loop this into my computer, which is not there, but normally would be. And I run MainStage on there and programmed a bunch of synths using sort of Massive and Contact and other soft synths to sort of emulate the sounds that we have on the record, but then build it up more so it sounds better in a live setting. I found this one because it's sturdy, it's durable, it's got aftertouch, so so the key goes down, then I can push it down again, and that makes it if I push down a synth sound, it go ooh, like that. So I can do vibrato with one note. I use other little controls to add portamento or add more vibrato with this, or pitch bend and transposing. So I have it all set up so that this thing controls all the sounds on the computer, and I can switch between patches and that sort of thing. I use this as it's like a vocal loop station, the RC30, and I've got this vocal mic which I only use on one song, and I use it to very quickly stack about 8 different vocals over a 3.5 octave range, and then get rid of it. So it's just I almost use it as a sort of a shock factor effect. I just use it once during the set.